Today's the first episode of Monster Thoughts TV. I'm so excited. Our guest today is the amazing THEGRIMREEVA. They use she, they pronouns, so throughout the interview today, you're going to be hearing me use she and they interchangeably. A bit about THEGRIMREEVA real quick. We are in Mercury retrograde, and the fictionado of the Dark and Grim, Reva is a creative director, podcast host, and writer. In their work, they draw inspiration from their Jamaican-Canadian roots, social injustices, love of culture, folklore, and horror stories. They run with Enola Lugosi, another awesome content creator. They run the Slay Away podcast. They discuss lore, gore, true crime, and every kill in between, bi-weekly on Friday. I will have the links to all of their work coming up soon. Just bear with me for 1 second. For creative services such as articles, press releases, biographies, media kits, and copy. They do music videos, advertising treatment. They do creating innovative brand strategies for influencers, entertainers. It's a portfolio on their website. They have their own store. Dark and Grim Designs, concepts by Reva Ann Walker, and illustrated by a series of artists. And they are a Twitch affiliate charity streamer. 50% of their funds goes to Downey Wedjack Funds for providing access to education on the true history of Indigenous people in Canada and the history and legacy of residential schools, and encourages reconciliation by way of programming events. And they are also affiliated with grinding coffee. That was a mouthful. But that said, I'm going to pull up the next screen with the amazing THEGRIMREEVA, and we're going to get into the interview. I can't count. I have 6 questions for them. The first question for Reva, we are discussing shapeshifters. Hold on, actually. So a background on shapeshifters really quick. In mythology, folklore, and speculative fiction, shapeshifting is the ability to physically transform through an inherently superhuman ability. Divine intervention, demonic manipulation, sorcery, spells, or having inherited the ability. The idea of shapeshifting in the oldest forms of totemism and shamanism, as well as the oldest existent literature and epic poems, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Iliad. The concept remains a common trope in the modern fantasy, children's literature, and popular culture. God, that was awful. The first question I'm going to posit to the lovely Reva is, how did you come across shapeshifters, and what do you think made you fall in love with them?
Okay, so here my theory first on how we probably all came across shapeshifters. And personally, this is just a theory. I mean, it's been picked apart so many times, but I think it was like in Little Red Riding Hood by the Grimm's brothers, Grimm Fairy Tales, which therefore also probably brings up an unpopular opinion of mine, which is that I really actually liked the take on the Red Riding Hood movie, the one with Amanda Seyfried. And I liked it because I'm a huge fan of folklore, which brings me into why I feel that I've fallen in love with shapeshifters over time. Now, shapeshifters, the most popular form of shapeshifter is your werewolf, of course. And so my love comes from my love for folklore. And the reason being is that shapeshifters is throughout so much different folklore from all different cultures, so many different backgrounds. And being raised in a pagan household, my dad loved folklore, so I heard a lot of these stories. So like in Irish folklore, fairies had a glamour effect in which they can change their appearance. So it's still shape-shifting. It's just a different type of shape-shifting. And glamour, you see that with mermaids, you see that with talked about even with vampires, right? That they don't change their appearance really, but they have a glamour effect, right?
They could turn into bats. Does that count?
Well, that's something that I want to touch on actually later, but we can touch on that now, is that, yeah, it's speculative that in some tellings of vampires that they can turn into bats, which would then make them shapeshifters as well, for sure. And
I didn't even think of that. Yeah. I didn't even think of that, but that just shift your shape is you're a shapeshifter, yeah, no matter what like shape that takes.
Yeah, and no matter what other monster you might already be or being or whatever, you know. Yeah. And we were talking about this before, and it's funny that we were talking about this because in my notes here, I had even written about in Trinidad how they had the Ligahu, which was a unique ability that was believed to be handed down in some old Creole families, and it was usually associated with witch doctors and practitioners of African magic, and they took the shape of dog-like figures as well, not necessarily wolves. as Trinidad doesn't have wolves, you know? So
Yeah.
but that's a whole that's a whole other thing. And then being from Canada and North America, multiple native traditions hold that at some point in the ancient past, the line between humans and animals were like very, very blurry, and animals can talk and assume human shape. So it's another way of shapeshifting and not so much of a monster format.
Yeah. Well, here I consider monsters like anything that makes us not necessarily scared, but makes us think. Like, to me, a monster is something that just like might inspire dread, or might just make you think of the world differently, but through fear, if that makes sense. So serial killers, just any kind of scary thing is what is a monster for me. So this is why I want to analyze like our favorite monsters in horror. Would you say that your knowledge of shapeshifters has changed the way you view them in popular culture, like movies, books, or TV shows?
I think it just maybe I just think a little bit differently than maybe some people, like as I was just talking about, maybe seeing above and beyond of just like a scary monster. Like, kind of touching on what you were just saying, is that I think that in a way, shapeshifters are truly like an earlier form of what we now call Lovecraftian horror, because it's all about the fear of the unknown, you know? And werewolves, for example, throughout history, they were tied to the killing of young women, sexual predators, and honing in on a particular village. And throughout many tales, shapeshifters are tied to sexual assault or witches, and it was easier to blame a thing than your next door neighbor, because at the time you were living in villages, so you knew everybody, so you didn't want to blame your neighbor, and you weren't going to blame whoever. And a lot of the times I believe it was truly like a human. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it anyways.
Cool. So, you spoke of werewolves and how they preyed on young women. What's your take on Stephenie Meyer's use of shapeshifters for her werewolves in the Twilight series, books and/or movies? Do you agree with her use of indigenous lore to create her werewolves? Why or why not?
I mean, okay, so I have two takes on this.
Mm-hmm.
And the first, I have to like make it very clear that I do not agree with the way it was done. It was done in the most white privileged fashion, and as we talked about this on a quick call yesterday, she did this all without any real research into it. So that was like a big no-no, because it made an easy path for things to be misconstrued. As a writer, I think that using folklore and culture and tie it into your stories in some way or form can be a great way to spread knowledge if it's done right and you're not there to butcher it. You could also use it for inspiration. I mean, like, there's so much lore that you can use as inspiration for your stories, but then you have to make it very, I don't know, like you wouldn't use the name of a certain nation or a certain culture to be like, it comes from just this culture, because then you're spreading misinformation. You might as well just call it mythology, right? And just say that it's like completely fake. It's fiction.
Yeah.
You made it all up. It's not, it has nothing to do with someone's culture. So in my opinion, that's where Stephenie made her biggest mistake, is that, you know, she used the name of the nation, the Killet Nation.
I don't know how to say
And
it.
I think that's how you say it anyways. I don't know if it's Quillette or Quillette. In my French ways, I'm saying it both ways that I would assume it is, but obviously it's not French. I think that you should try to talk to people who are part of that culture or who are part of that nation, like in her example, and she should have gotten more information, or she should have just not used the name at all. But because it was like honed in on one certain area, it created a lot of problem. Stephenie Meyers had the opportunity to use her privilege and educate, and she didn't. She really misconstrued the Quillette Nation's beliefs, and she also used the terms treaty. And she used this terms treaty against vampires, meaning that the treaties were created to protect the indigenous or native nation, right? And it's like, well, no, because now you just misconstrued history again, because the treaties were made to protect the colonizer and basically suppress indigenous culture, right? And say like, oh, you're only allowed in this one little area, even though this was like their land. So that part really pissed me off. And maybe without realizing it, I find that she played a lot on the anger stereotype, which is an issue that we see in this systematic racist system when it comes to BIPOC communities already. So I feel that it was something that she played on way too much. And I get like it matched the character because of what she was trying to portray with the werewolf and the boyish everything. But when it's tied to indigenous culture and a person of color, you're just playing into the stereotypes. To me, it's kind of bullshit in that regard. But yeah, so in short, I agree with the use, but fucking do your research. Don't just Google shit, man.
Yeah. What other popular shapeshifters are you aware of? And can you tell us a bit about them?
I mean, I was gonna say vampires. Here. But I think in this part is more so maybe more like my favorite characters maybe in pop culture, because you have Remus Lupin and his wife Nymphadora Tonks from Harry Potter. And you know, they're two of my favorite characters in the series, and they're made as good guys. And I think it touches on, J.K. Rowling touches on the original meaning of like werewolf represented in horror in general, not just like the tales and everything, which is like how we all have a dark side and, you know, how we deal with it, because they both have to obviously seclude themselves when they do turn. Another really good one, which you probably be like, this will probably blow your mind, but when I really thought about it, but Pennywise from It.
Oh, yeah.
Because he shapeshifts into your fears.
Yeah.
Like, can we talk about how fucking creepy that is?
That is creepy, yeah. But also, he shapeshifts into, like, I want to say child. That's why he preys on children, right? The childhood fears. Mm-hmm. Once you're an adult, it's like, I'm scared of not paying bills on time. Like, there's no, like, you can't become my bills. Like, so then that's how they defeat him at the end. They realize, like, you know, all their fears that they had were just childhood fears. So, I mean, his power was cool, like, in hindsight, but then once you, I mean, think about it for more than 2 seconds, you're like, well, yeah, I'm not really scared of him, because, like, once I, like, conquer my fear, he's not that scary. Someone in the comments, I'm gonna just go with that. Someone in the comments said Animorphs, the Animorphs series, as, like, some shapeshifters that they read, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh my god, you're right. Like, yeah, they were like, did you read them?
I didn't read the Animorphs.
Oh
series.
My gosh. Okay, we're gonna go off on a little tangent here.
Yeah.
So I read some of the books when I was a kid, and I watched the show, and they are a group of kids who get alien powers, which, like, helps them transform into animals. And then they have to, like, stop this, like, evil alien organization from, like, taking over family and friends. It's very dark. Like, it gets really dark, and then, like, it's die, and it's crazy. But it's a really good book series. And the covers are really cool because they had the whole holographic thing where if you held it a certain way, some of them, they would morph into the thing. They would morph into the animal they're turning into. But then in the static ones, they would go from, like, a kid to, like, bit by bit on the cover into, like, the animal that they're becoming. So those are cool. Those are cool shapeshifters. Someone just said a demon is a shapeshifter.
Yeah. I would say that a demon is a shapeshifter for sure. Not all, but some.
And we expand on that because I'm lost. Well, I'm thinking about it, like...
Well, some demons are known to being able to, like, become, like, children to you, for example. And you see that in movies quite often. But they will literally, like, appear as children to you, or they will appear like with children's voices and stuff.
Okay, I see that aspect of it.
Or they can they can change to looking like your relatives and stuff. So in a way, yeah, I would say definitely shape-shifting.
I see it in that respect. Have you come across any noteworthy shapeshifters in video games recently? If so, why? If so, who? If not, would you like to see them? And in what ways would you like for them to be implemented? Survival horror game, RPG, etc.
So I find that we don't see them as often. You know, I would like to see, honestly, something to do with like sirens, like a video game about sirens. If there is one, please let me know. Because I mean, like, being a gamer, I'm not that much of a gamer. I say this all the time, but like, I really don't sort out a lot of new games. But yeah, I'd like to see something to do with sirens. I think that would be really cool. There's one that I've been eyeing that I want to play, but I haven't played. I could send you the trailer. I don't know, because I think we can watch it as fair use, which is Werewolf Heart of the Forest, and they're coming out with a second part soon. The Apocalypse or something.
Yes, this is the game I was about to mention. I'm going to stream it on stream when it comes out. But yeah, because we were playing Vampire.
There's one out now already.
There is?
Yeah.
The new one, or is this the one?
This is the one before.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna buy that immediately because that fits my whole thing I have going on here. Yeah, my whole thing. Shrouded? What do you mean World of Warcraft? You can be a werewolf in World of Warcraft.
Oh, nice.
I had no idea. I didn't know that.
I downloaded it. I haven't played it.
No. I know Skyrim, you can be a werewolf. I'm trying to think of games where you can change your form. Vampire, become one of those like lichen type creatures, but they're just a different breed of vampire in that game. You can't become a bat or anything, but Elder Scrolls Online, you can be a werewolf. Yeah, that makes sense. A Wendigo. What do you mean a Wendigo?
Wendigo.
I don't know anything about Wendigos.
Is Wendigo a shapeshifter? I don't know full 100. I do know that it definitely comes from. There's one that's depicted in I believe Mexican lore, and then there's one that is depicted in northern Canadian lore. So there's like different types of Wendigos, but I don't know much more. I didn't know it was a shapeshifter. I didn't know it was a human.
I don't know if it's a shapeshifter in Indian folklore in Michigan and also in Mexico. So Kirby. Someone mentioned Kirby.
Kirby. Who's Kirby? Kirby
the pink balloon thing.
Yeah.
Kirby's not Kirby doesn't shapeshift. He just inhales things and gets bigger. I wouldn't call that shapeshift. See, this is my thing. To just expand on the conversation a bit. Like, where do we put the kibosh on like what is a shapeshifter and what isn't a shapeshifter? Because like we said werewolves, there's like we're hyenas and like we're everything. Like we said vampires and stuff. Like all these classifications, like where do we stop with everything? Like not everything, but certain things are shapeshifters and certain things aren't. You know what I mean?
It's definitely like human to woman. And just a correction there is that the term Indian is no longer used.
Yeah, I was looking at that. It's Native American, Crimson,
or indigenous.
Yeah, indigenous or just Native American. Indian is
it's not politically correct.
Yeah,
I know a little bit about the Wendigo, like where it comes from, just because I'm Canadian, and it's definitely deeply rooted in a lot of Canadian folklore.
The X-Files episode where that guy, he keeps shape-shifting. I mean, they called him a shapeshifter, but he would shed his skin and become somebody else, and they were trying to catch him. I don't know why that stuck. I watched the X-Files like 5 years. I don't know why that stuck in my head, but they called him a shapeshifter, and now I'm thinking about it. Clayface? You guys are throwing out too many good ones. Okay, hold on. X-Files dude, he just turns into different people. Would that be considered shapeshifting to you?
Turning into different people?
Yeah, it's all nasty. He sheds his skin.
I would say yes. You see that in X-Files too. I would say yes, because you're technically oh my god, you're shaping a different shift is what I'm trying to say. Oh my god, I cannot speak. But yes, I would say so, because if we can say that Pennywise changes into many different things. So it's a form of shapeshifting. The classic shapeshifter throughout time, though, like when you talk about folklore and lore, is usually more so animal, but like bigger animal. So you see it mainly with cats, amphibians.
So like werecats
snakes.
and like werewolves and werehyenas, like that.
Yeah, because some of the oldest, well, not oldest folklore. I can't say that the Bible is the oldest folklore. That sounds pretty whatever, but you know, with the devil and being like and the snake, that's a shapeshifter.
Because he
But
turns
yeah,
into the snake.
yeah. But
Yes.
what about like you guys in the chat? Like, what are some of your favorite movies that have shapeshifters?
I'm getting Clayface. Supernatural has a lot of shapeshifter episodes. Clayface, but I'm going off of the Batman animated series. Clayface, he can change his shape. Yeah, I'll give you that, because I think he can. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he can basically make he can like look like whoever he wants, but then he can ult when he's like his like, you know, like main form, the big hulking like clay thing. He can make his fist like a hammer or like a knife or whatever.
Yeah,
This is what I'm talking about.
I can say it's still a form. You see it a lot in comic books, because in X-Men you have it. Oh, what's her name? She's blue in X-Men.
Mystique. Yes. Yeah, okay, yeah, so there are different. So what I'm getting from this is there are different kinds of shapeshifters. We have the ones that can mainly shapeshift or change shape, whatever, into other humans or humanesque shapes or people or whatever. And then we have the ones that are like werewolves and like animals and things like that. Oh, American Werewolf in London. That transformation scene.
Favorite.
That transformation scene was immaculate. It was amazing. I have not seen Silver Bullet, but I want to talk about it. I'm including Hemlock Grove in this. I want to talk about these shows or movies saying things are werewolves, calling things werewolves, and the people turn into like four-legged, like on all fours wolves. Like, to me, a werewolf is like can stand on 2 feet, are big hulking 9 feet tall monsters. If you can just turn into a wolf, then you're to me like that's a distinction. Like, to me, like a werewolf is our Lycan is like a big hulking monster. If you can just turn into a wolf, then you're a shapeshifter. That's how it is for me. I don't know if it's different for anyone else, because to me it's like, okay, you just turn into an animal. But if you turn into a Lycan, like a werewolf, you're man and woman. I mean, man and woman. Oh my god, listen to me. You're man and wolf. You're both. So you're not gonna be you're not gonna just be a wolf. I mean, Hemlock Grove's transformation scene, if anyone has seen it, was great. I loved it. I just didn't like that they were just wolves. Not even big wolves. They were just normal wolves. I was like, that's kind of lame. Like, you should turn into like a big hulking... You can run on all fours if you want, but you mostly walk on your hind legs. Like, that's how my Lycans are written in my book. That's how I've always seen werewolves.
So other than vampires, and like, what did you say? What's your favorite Universal monster then?
Oh god. Besides vampires? That's not fair.
Well, we already know you love vampires.
The Universal, like the Mummy and all that stuff?
Yeah.
I don't like the Universal monsters. I do not like... I tried to watch Bela Lugosi's Dracula. I laughed my ass. I could not get past his facial expressions. I was like, no. I was laughing. Like, I couldn't. I like Nosferatu. I know he's a vampire, so that doesn't really help. Yeah, I don't know. It has to be Universal Monster. I haven't watched any of those movies. I've read Frankenstein.
There you go.
But I didn't like it.
I'd say Wolfman, just because the werewolf aspect, and truly the Invisible Man too.
But he was more man than wolf though.
Yeah, but he's still a werewolf.
No.
Oh,
but
you know what I totally fucking forgot to mention?
What?
And I even wrote it down. So after Little Red Riding Hood, one of the first movie that I came across a werewolf was Ginger Snaps.
That is my husband's favorite movie.
Really? Well, I mean, it's a fucking awesome movie, and
He
it's
loves that movie.
Canadian. So I mean, come on.
Okay, so I'm going to start winding down the show. In your own words, can you tell us more about you and like what you do? Because I might have butchered some things earlier in the beginning, and for those that just came in who don't know who you are.
No problem. So, hello. My name is Reva, and who am I? It's such, oh my god, every time I see that, it actually scares me and makes my anxiety go up like crazy. But anyway, I am a very broad individual. I don't even know how to say this, but anyways, okay, so I am someone who spent years in the music industry for about, I was in the reggae industry in particular for 9 years. I did marketing, PR. I hosted some of the biggest events in Canada, as well in Haiti, as well as I helped with events in Jamaica and worked a lot with Jamaican radio. I did that over the course of 9 years. My husband is a Jamaican musician, and about a year and a half ago, I really rage quit the music industry.
I am so happy you were able to come onto the show today. All of your links in the chat so people can find you, follow you, see what's going on, see what you're about. Before I forget, we are members of the Haunted House.
Yeah.
Where she like you're a co-founder or you're like the founder?
So I would say more so a co-founder. Both Indy and I founded it while playing drunk DBD. And it was supposed to be a more DBD focused group, but we all loved horror and it just kind of grew into something bigger. So yeah.
I'm an ambassador for the Discord. It is a very cool Discord. It's very fun. Thank you so much for being on. I want to thank everyone for coming to the first episode of the Monster Thoughts TV. This was fun. We've had some mishaps, some lag problems as to be expected. So thank you guys so much for stopping by. I'll see you guys later. Bye.